Good evening and welcome to Hungary Report, Start off Public Media M1's Foreign Language News Hour. I'm Csenga Gabriela Iboya with today's news from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin. Let's begin. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs is asking people to carefully consider their trip to northern Italy, not only due to health risks, but also the possibility of finding new settlements under quarantine at any time and then being stuck there for 14 days. My colleague spoke to Hungarians living there. Some have bought groceries for several weeks, which is a good idea because the stores are now basically empty.
More and more people are worried about the coronavirus in northern Italy. Claudia Onfiani, a Hungarian living in Lombardia, spoke to M1 News about how, due to the virus, schools, public institutions had to be closed for an indefinite period and all cultural programs have been suspended. She also talked about fewer people out on the streets of Milan than usual and more people wearing masks. There's great suspense in law enforcement authorities too. They still didn't receive any protective equipment. All they got was the instruction to avoid contact with other people. Claudia Onfiani said, whose husband happens to be a police officer. They cannot get in contact with anyone. Therefore, they cannot touch anyone who they spot for examination, meaning they cannot even do breathalyzer tests, the woman explained. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade sent a statement to MTI news agency recommending people to reconsider their planned travel to northern Italy. The reason for this is that if the Italian authorities expand the quarantine area, they cannot leave it and won't be able to return to Hungary until the quarantine period is over. In addition, the operational group responsible for the protection against the coronavirus requested emergency information from the Italian authorities on the epidemiological situation. In parallel to this, they have also extended border health screenings to those arriving from northern Italy. This is necessary because of the possible appearance of the infection in Hungary.
Climate protection is more important than being in the crossfire of political battles. This is what the government spokesperson said. Alexandra Szenkirai talked about the 8-point action plan on climate and nature conservation. She mentioned that they support the use of solar and nuclear energy, which are two clean energy resources, so that utility bills and food prices will not rise in the future. She also stressed that the responsibility of multinational companies.
Hungary's biggest solar power plant in Paks was inaugurated last March. The facility, utilizing renewable energy sources, consists of over 74,000 solar panels, can produce enough electricity to power a city the size of Székesfehérvár for a year. In the Climate and Nature Protection Action Plan, the government is also giving strong support to solar and nuclear energy, as these two clean energy sources are needed to keep utility and food prices from rising in the future, the government spokeswoman said on Sunday on Kossuth Radio. We accepted and are supporting the 2050 EU climate aims with the condition that it won't interfere with the people's utility and food prices as most climate protection measures do, the government spokesperson said. Alexandra Szenkirai noted that climate protection is much more important for it to be in the crossfire of political battles. She said she doesn't see what element of the action plan would not be agreeable to someone who feels responsibility towards their country, the climate and nature. The announced action plan also includes a ban on single-use plastics, the possibility of returning glass and plastic bottles, metal cans, and the cleaning of reverse from waste. Our main goal is to increase the country's forests and wood area to 27% by 2030. To achieve this, 250,000 hectares of land will be cultivated in the next 10 years, the Minister of Agriculture said on Thursday. István Nagy emphasized that they encourage the cultivation of saplings, new tenders being written for machinery and equipment, as well as significantly increasing afforestation subsidies. In addition, 10 new saplings will be planted for each newborn within the framework of the Climate and Nature Protection Action Plan, meaning approximately 1 million new trees per year.
A Pakistani migrant has been arrested for a month as he is accused of multiple crimes, including multiple murders. It turns out in October 2017, he was once captured while a group of immigrants at the southern border were documented. We believe that the suspect has since applied for asylum with the help of the Helsinki Committee, supported by George Soros, so that he wouldn't be extradited to Pakistan from Hungary. An Iraqi woman was caught at the Budapest airport yesterday while trying to smuggle 2 children into the country with a fake passport. The woman was taken into custody and the children were taken home. This isn't the first instance of something like this happening. Last June, a Syrian man came to Hungary with his son on a flight from Athens with no less than 5 Afghan children, and none of them had a valid document. Just like the 52-year-old Iraqi woman who also wanted to bring a minor from Greece with fake papers. In Slovakia, more and more people are joining the European Citizens Initiative launched by the Secular National Council. Hungarians living there also believe that the protection of national regions is important to all Hungarian areas across the border. By May 7th, a total of 1 million signatures from 7 member states must be collected to put the issue on the agenda of the EU. But the petition can also be signed on their website.
We are a religious community living in minority for the past century, and the ruling council of the Reformed Church and all who live in the Church find it important for the rights valid in the European Union's territory to be granted to the indigenous minorities. Therefore, our engagement stems from social aspect, along with faith.
Straw dolls representing winter were burned in Mohács. More than 2,000 costume bushos and sokat girls were present at the largest winter banishing festival in Hungary. The carnival lasts until Tuesday. Thousands took part in the carnival festivities during this weekend in the Baranya County town.
After Saturday's festivities, the little bushos were inaugurated on Sunday in Mohács. In addition to the barracks and clatterers, cannons were also shot. In the Busho courtyard, visitors could get acquainted with Busho traditions in close proximity. Children used the hand tools to carve the masks. The scary masks are still made today as they were in the old days. On the main day of the Busho Járás, many visitors had already arrived in carnival masks. The crowd marched to the Danube in the early afternoon, where the bonfire was already burning. They waited for the crossers with dancing and loud clapping. Bushos rowed across the river in boats, bringing to life the legend of the Busho Járás, which says that back in the day, local people had fled from the Turkish occupation to Mohács Island on the other side of the Danube. They returned in disguise and raided the superstitious Turks who had fled the city. 3 of our Bushos had rowed across the river and managed to survive, so we're very happy and will continue to celebrate, these Bushos said. This winter banishing, spring awaiting event is passed on from father to son in the small town by the Danube River. It is shaped by a living folk tradition, with the participating Bushos and the communities. Of course, they are the ones who make up and participate in the Busho Járás, but we strive to keep the event as authentic as possible, the main organizer said. The Busho parade then marched through the city. After dark, the Bushos lit a bonfire on the main square, where a straw puppet was burned. The winter banishing festival will last until Tuesday, when Bushos burn the carnival coffin that symbolizes winter.
A winter Balaton swim was organized between Szántúd and Tihany. 15 people dared to enter the race, which consisted of more than 1 kilometer. Of course, they were not amateurs, as this distance in the 5-degree Balaton requires serious preparation. The fastest swimmer crossed over in less than half an hour. Normally, we would see ice skating races organized during this period at Lake Balaton, but with such a mild winter, there was no chance of organizing anything of that sort. The Hungarian Lacemakers Association has been trying to keep the tradition of lace making alive for 30 years. A large-scale exhibition of traditional works can now be seen at the German Museum of Nationalities in Tata. The craftsmen are constantly researching and recreating the typical passions of regions and settlements of our country, which are presented in travelling exhibitions nationwide. Corn Lake is located on the northern shore of Lake Balaton, in the middle of the picturesque Kali Basin. The lake, fed by smallest springs and rainwater, is a breeding ground for many waterfowl. On the small hill above the lake, there is a sculpture group entitled Human Comedy by the sculptor Imre Veszprém. The 3-meter statue, each 3 meters high, can be easily seen from the road between Kővágóörs and Köveske. A lovely walk around the lake on the Teodora Nature Trail is suggested to visitors. And that's all for now, but don't forget you can catch Hungary Reports every night after 11 o'clock news and online as always. Do stick around and watch our German, Russian and Chinese language news. Thank you for watching and have a lovely evening.